There is a moment in a woman's life when something shifts inside her and she cannot name it. She wakes up one morning and the world looks the same. The ceiling above her bed has not moved. Light comes through the window the way it always has. But something in her has changed. She reaches for her phone, almost out of habit, and then she pauses. She does not check it. She just looks at it and puts it back down. And in that small gesture, in that single second of restraint, an entire universe has just rearranged itself. She does not know it yet, but a threshold has been crossed, the kind that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Carl Jung once wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But what he did not say, what he could not say in a single sentence, is how violently the world reacts when you actually start doing it. Because the moment you begin to belong to yourself, the people who were used to owning a piece of you start to feel something they cannot explain. They feel a draft, a coldness in a room that used to be warm, a door closed without a sound where one used to stand open, and the man who loves you, or who thought he did, feels it first, long before you ever say a word. Let me tell you something about the human psyche that almost no one talks about. We do not fall in love with people. We fall in love with the version of them that fits inside our internal map of the world. We fall in love with their predictability, with the role they play in our story. And when that role suddenly changes, when the character we cast in our drama starts writing her own lines, what we feel is not love, it is panic. This is what Jung understood better than almost anyone. He saw that the human ego is terrified of transformation, not just its own, but the transformation of those it depends on. Because every relationship, even the most intimate, even the most beautiful, is built on a quiet contract, an invisible agreement that says, you will be this for me, and I will be that for you. And when one person silently tears up that contract, the other one feels the ground move beneath their feet. So let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that when you finally start healing, the people around you become uncomfortable? Not all of them, but enough of them to make you wonder if you are doing something wrong. Your friends start saying you have changed. They say it like an accusation, not an observation. Your partner becomes distant, or strangely attentive, or both at the same time. Family members begin making little comments about how you used to be more fun, more easy, more available. And you begin to question yourself. You begin to wonder if your healing is selfish, if your peace is somehow betraying the people who loved you when you were broken. This is the psychological trap Jung called the shadow projection. When you stop performing the role others assigned to you, they do not see your growth. They see their own loss, and what they cannot accept about themselves, they will try to make you carry. But here is the truth that will set you free if you let it sink in. You were never put on this earth to be predictable. You were never meant to be someone's emotional anchor while you yourself were drowning. You were meant to become. And becoming is not a quiet process. It is not gentle. There is no meditation cushion that delivers it in a single weekend. Real transformation arrives in the long nights, when you sit with feelings you used to numb. It enters through the silences you used to fill with apologies. It takes shape every time you choose your own peace over someone else's comfort. And each of those choices is a vote for the woman you are becoming, against the woman they want you to remain. Now, before we go deeper, I want you to do something for me. If anything I am saying right now is touching something inside you, something true, something you have been carrying alone for too long, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Not because I am asking you to, but because there is a part of you that already knows you need this kind of reflection in your life. A space where someone speaks the language your soul has been trying to translate for years. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part most people never understand about transformation. There is a stage in individuation that Jung described, but rarely in such clear terms. A moment when you stop seeking validation from the outside and start hearing your own voice from the inside. And this is where everything becomes strange, because suddenly the things that used to hurt you stop hurting in the same way. The unanswered messages, the cold tone, the silent treatment, those little manipulations that used to send you spiraling for days, you see them now. You see them for what they are. Not love, not passion, not depth, just patterns. Old, tired, repetitive patterns from people who never did the work you have done. And in that moment of clarity, something dies inside you. The part of you that needed to be chosen. The part that begged for crumbs and called it a feast. She dies quietly, without ceremony. And from her ashes, another woman rises. A woman who chooses. Someone who is no longer available for performances. A woman who can love deeply without losing herself in the process. Let me give you an example, because abstract ideas only go so far. Imagine a woman who spent 5 years in a relationship where she was always the one reaching out first. Always apologizing, even when she was the one hurt. Forever explaining her feelings to a man who pretended not to understand them. And then one day, she stops. Not out of revenge, not out of strategy. She just stops because she finally hears what her body has been screaming for years. Enough. And what happens next is fascinating. Within days, sometimes within hours, the man who never had time for her suddenly has nothing but time. The man who never noticed her becomes obsessed with what she is doing. Suddenly he wants to know everything about a day he could never be bothered to ask about before. Why? Why does this happen? Jung would say it is because the unconscious of the other person feels what the conscious mind has refused to acknowledge. He felt safe because she was constant, and when that constancy is removed, his entire psychological structure begins to shake. He is not chasing her because he loves her more. He is chasing her because he loved the security of her presence, and now that security is gone. And this is the painful, beautiful truth. Most of what we call love in this world is not love at all. It is dependency wearing a costume. It is comfort pretending to be connection. And only when we begin to individuate, only when we begin to belong fully to ourselves, can we tell the difference. But here is where it gets harder, because when you reach this stage, you will be tested, not by the universe, by yourself. There will be nights when the old version of you tries to come back. She will whisper that maybe you were too harsh, that maybe you should send a message, that maybe being alone is worse than being mistreated. And in those moments, you have to remember who you have become and what it cost you to get here. You have to remember the woman you were before, the one who could not sleep without checking if he had read her message. She built her entire emotional weather around someone else's mood. She confused exhaustion with devotion. And you have to ask yourself, do I really want her back? The answer, when you sit with it long enough, is always no, because you did not change to punish anyone. You changed because the cost of staying the same had finally become greater than the cost of becoming someone new. And this is what Jung meant when he said that the foundation of all mental illness is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. Real growth requires you to grieve the version of yourself who was loved for being small. And that grief, however quiet, however invisible to others, is sacred. It is the price of admission to your own life. Now listen carefully, because what I am about to say may be the most important thing in this entire reflection. The people who truly belong in your life will not be threatened by your becoming. They will not flinch at your boundaries. They will not interpret your peace as rejection. They will meet you, slowly perhaps, awkwardly perhaps, but they will meet you. And the ones who cannot, the ones who keep trying to pull you back into who you were, they are not your enemies. They are simply mirrors showing you what they have not yet faced in themselves. You do not have to hate them. You do not have to fight them. You just have to stop carrying them. And as you continue this journey, as you keep walking deeper into yourself, you will notice something quietly miraculous. The world begins to rearrange itself around your new frequency. People who match who you are becoming start to appear. Not all at once, not in some cinematic moment. They arrive slowly, like seeds you planted years ago that finally remember how to bloom. And the man who once held your entire emotional life in his hands, the one whose silence could ruin your week, becomes just a person. Just a man, not a god, not a wound. Just a human being who, at one point in your story, taught you something essential, that no one is coming to save you, and that the only love that ever truly lasts is the one you finally learned to give yourself. So tonight, when you turn off the light, when the room becomes still, when your thoughts begin their familiar circling, I want you to remember something. You did not change to lose anyone. You changed because you finally stopped losing yourself. And if some people cannot follow you to where you are going, that is not a tragedy. That is the natural order of becoming. The old you had to die so the real you could finally breathe. Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Well, you have started to make it conscious. You have started to see, and from now on, your life will no longer be something that happens to you. It will be something that unfolds through you. So now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments below, what was the moment you knew you had changed forever? What was the small silent gesture that revealed to you that you were no longer the same person? Share your story, because someone scrolling through these comments tonight needs to read it, needs to know they are not alone in this quiet revolution of the self. And if this reflection touched something real in you, share it with the woman who needs to hear it, the one who is still apologizing for taking up space. Whoever is still mistaking exhaustion for love, she does not need saving. She just needs a single sentence to remind her that becoming herself is not a betrayal. It is the only honest thing she can do. You have changed, yes, and the world will adjust. Or it will not. Either way, you are finally home.